3 weeks before my 40th wedding anniversary, I discovered my wife was planning to have me declared mentally incompetent so she could steal everything I had built. So I decided to let her think she had won. On the morning of our anniversary, while she was getting ready to celebrate what she thought was her victory, I was sitting in a lawyer's office signing papers that would change her life forever. This is a true story. My name is Marcus Chen, 68 years old, and these hands have signed more business deals than most people will see in a lifetime. Before I tell you what happened, hit the like button and subscribe if you have ever trusted someone completely only to discover they were counting down the days until you were no longer useful. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from. It started on a Tuesday morning in September. I was in my home office going through quarterly reports for my manufacturing company. Chen Industries had 400 employees across 3 states. We made precision components for aerospace companies. It was not glamorous work, but it was solid, profitable, and mine. I had built it from nothing 35 years ago with a $10,000 loan and a dream that kept me working 80-hour weeks. My wife Patricia walked into the office. She was dressed for lunch with her book club friends. Designer clothes, expensive jewelry, the kind of outfit that costs more than most people make in a month. I had given her everything she wanted for 40 years. Every credit card had no limit. Every wish was granted. I thought I was being a good husband. I thought I was showing her love through provision. She stood in the doorway, not coming all the way in. She never came all the way into my office anymore. "Marcus," she said, her voice tight and controlled, "I need you to sign some papers." I looked up from my computer. "What papers?" "Just some insurance updates," she replied too quickly. "The agent said we need to update our beneficiaries. It is routine, nothing to worry about." I had been in business long enough to know that when someone says do not worry, you should absolutely worry. I stood up and walked over to her. She was holding a folder, blue, official looking. "Let me read them first," I said, reaching for the folder. She pulled it back slightly. "Marcus, you do not have time. You have that conference call in 10 minutes. Just sign at the tabs." I marked them with sticky notes. "I trust the agent. He has been with us for years." The conference call, she was right. I had a major client waiting. A $2 million contract hung in the balance. I was already cutting it close. Patricia knew my schedule better than I did. She had access to my calendar. She knew exactly when I would be rushed. I looked at her face. She was smiling, but it did not reach her eyes. There was something else there. Anticipation maybe, or was it calculation? I told myself I was being paranoid. This was my wife, the woman I had loved since college, the woman who had stood by me when I was building the company from nothing. "Fine," I said. I took the folder and flipped to the first sticky tab. I scribbled my signature without reading the dense legal text above it. Then the second tab. Then the third. 5 signatures total. I handed the folder back to her. She smiled. A real smile this time. "Thank you, darling. I will get these back to the agent today. Your call is in 8 minutes. You should prepare." She left. I sat back down at my desk. Something felt wrong. It was like a stone in my shoe, small but impossible to ignore. But the conference call was starting. The client was waiting. I pushed the feeling aside and focused on work. That was my first mistake. 2 days later, I was at my annual physical. Dr. Rebecca Park had been my physician for 15 years. She knew everything about my health. Blood pressure slightly elevated but controlled with medication. Cholesterol good. Heart strong. At 68, I was in better shape than men 20 years younger. I was sitting on the examination table in the paper gown waiting for her to come back with my test results when her assistant knocked and entered. "Mr. Chen," she said nervously, "Dr. Park needs to speak with you about something." She seemed anxious. "She will be right in." Dr. Park entered a minute later. She was not smiling. "Marcus," she said, closing the door behind her, "we need to talk about something sensitive. I received a call yesterday from someone claiming to be your healthcare proxy. She was asking detailed questions about your mental state and requesting copies of your medical records." "Who was it?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Your wife," Dr. Park said. "She had documents that gave her medical power of attorney. She was asking if you had shown any signs of cognitive decline, memory issues, confusion. She specifically asked about dementia and Alzheimer's disease." My chest tightened. Patricia had never asked Dr. Park about my health before. She always said medical stuff made her uncomfortable. Why would she suddenly care about my mental state now? What did you tell her? I asked. Nothing, Dr. Park said firmly. I told her I could not discuss your medical information without your explicit written consent. Even with a power of attorney, patient confidentiality applies unless you are incapacitated. She was not happy. She threatened to report me to the medical board. I sat there in the paper gown feeling exposed in more ways than one. Dr. Park leaned against the counter, her arms crossed. Marcus, she said carefully, I have to ask, have you noticed any changes in your memory or thinking? Any confusion or disorientation? No, I said. I am sharper now than I was 10 years ago. I run a multimillion-dollar company. I negotiate contracts. I manage hundreds of employees. If I was losing my mind, someone would have noticed. Dr. Park nodded. That is what I thought. Your cognitive function is excellent. Your test results are perfect. You are in great health. So why would your wife be calling me asking about dementia? I did not have an answer. Not yet, but I was starting to form a hypothesis, and it made my blood run cold. I need copies of whatever documents she presented, I said, and I need you to document this conversation in my medical file. Date it. Time stamp it. Make it official. Dr. Park understood immediately. She was a smart woman. She had probably seen this kind of thing before. Families trying to have elderly relatives declared incompetent so they could control their assets. I will prepare everything, she said, and Marcus, be careful. If someone is trying to establish a pattern of mental decline, they will be collecting evidence, witnesses, documentation. They will be building a case. I left the doctor's office and sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes. I did not turn on the engine. I just sat there thinking. The insurance papers, the medical inquiry. What else had Patricia been doing behind my back? I pulled out my phone and called my executive assistant Linda. She had worked for me for 12 years. She knew everything about the company and most things about my personal life. Linda, I said when she answered, I need you to do something for me quietly. Of course, Mr. Chen. What do you need? I need you to pull all the visitor logs for the office over the last 6 months. Anyone who came to see me, anyone who asked about me, anyone who requested information about the company. And Linda, do not tell anyone you are doing this. Not even Patricia if she calls, especially not Patricia. There was a pause. Okay, Linda said slowly. Can I ask why? Not yet, I told her. Just trust me. I will explain everything soon. I hung up and started the car. I needed to think. I needed to plan. But most of all, I needed to know what Patricia was really after. I drove to the office, but I did not go inside. I sat in the parking garage and made a list on my phone. Everything that had seemed strange over the last few months, small things I had dismissed as nothing. Patricia had stopped asking about the business. She used to want updates on contracts and deals. Now she changed the subject whenever I brought it up. She had started making comments about my memory. Little things. Marcus, you told me that story yesterday. Marcus, you forgot we had dinner plans. Marcus, you are repeating yourself. I had brushed them off. Everyone forgets small things. But now I wondered if she was planting seed, creating a narrative. She had been spending more time with her sister Diane. They had never been close. Diane had always been jealous of Patricia's life, jealous of the money, the house, the status. Now suddenly they were meeting for lunch 3 times a week. What were they talking about? I opened my email and searched for messages from Patricia. Most of them were mundane, reminders about social events, questions about dinner plans. But then I found one from 3 months ago. It was a forward. She had sent herself an email from my account. The subject line was company passwords and account numbers. I did not remember sending it, but there was my signature at the bottom. I felt sick. She had access to my email. She could send messages as me. She could have been corresponding with lawyers, doctors, business partners, all while pretending to be me. I immediately changed all my passwords, every account, every system. Then I called my IT director. James, I need you to run a full audit of my email account. I want to know every message sent from my address in the last 6 months, every login, every device. I want timestamps and IP addresses. I paused. And James, do not file this request through normal channels. Come directly to me with the results. Mr. Chen, is everything okay? He asked. You sound stressed. Just do it, I said. I will explain later. I hung up and sat there staring at my phone. My wife of 40 years was trying to destroy me. She was not having an affair. She was not leaving me for another man. She was doing something worse. She was trying to erase me, to make me disappear while still breathing, to turn me into a ghost in my own life. The question was why, and more importantly, what was I going to do about it? That night at dinner, Patricia was cheerful. She had made my favorite meal, braised short ribs with roasted vegetables. She poured expensive wine. She asked about my day. She smiled and laughed at my stories. She played the role of the devoted wife perfectly. I watched her across the table and wondered how long she had been acting, how many of our years together had been real, how many had been a performance. "We are coming up on 40 years, she said, raising her wine glass. "Can you believe it, Marcus? 4 decades together. I want to do something special. Maybe a party, invite all our friends, celebrate properly." I raised my glass and touched it to hers. The crystal made a clear ringing sound. "That sounds wonderful," I lied. "Whatever you want to plan. You have always been better at those things than me." She beamed. "I was thinking maybe we could renew our vows, make it really meaningful. A second wedding, what do you think?" "I think that sounds perfect," I said. I took a sip of wine. It tasted like poison. A vow renewal. A public ceremony. Witnesses watching me pledge my life to her again. And if I seemed confused during the ceremony, if I stumbled over my words or forgot a line, all those witnesses would remember. They would testify later that yes, Marcus seemed off that day, confused, not himself. I excused myself after dinner and went to my office. I locked the door. I pulled out a burner phone I had bought that afternoon with cash. No one knew about this phone, not Linda, not my lawyer. No one. I dialed a number I had not called in 20 years. The phone rang 3 times. Then a rough voice answered. "This better be good. It is 10 o'clock at night." "Marcus Chen," I said. "I need your help, Raymond." There was a long pause. "Marcus," Raymond said, his voice changing, recognition and surprise mixing together. "I have not heard from you in 2 decades. What is wrong?" Raymond Liu was a private investigator. We had met 25 years ago when I suspected one of my business partners was embezzling funds. Raymond had proven I was right and helped me build the case to prosecute. He was discreet, thorough, and expensive. Exactly what I needed. "I think my wife is trying to have me declared mentally incompetent," I said. "I need you to find out what she is planning, who she is working with, what her end game is." Raymond whistled low. "That is serious, Marcus. If she succeeds, she gets control of everything. Your assets, your company, your medical decision. You become a legal child." "I know," I said. "That is why I am calling you. Can you help me?" "Give me 3 days," Raymond said. "I will find out everything. Do not change your behavior. Do not let her know you suspect anything. Just act normal. Can you do that?" "I am a businessman, Raymond. I have been acting in negotiations for 35 years. I can play whatever role I need to play." "Good," Raymond said. "I will be in touch. And Marcus, be careful. If she is this far along in her planning, she has already set things in motion. You are in more danger than you think." I hung up the phone and sat in the dark office. Through the door, I could hear Patricia moving around the house, water running in the kitchen, her footsteps on the stairs, normal domestic sounds, the soundtrack of a marriage. But underneath those sounds, I now heard something else, the ticking of a clock, time running out. I had built an empire from nothing. I had negotiated with Fortune 500 companies. I had survived recessions and market crashes. But I had never faced an enemy who slept next to me every night, who knew my routines, my weaknesses, my fears, who had spent 40 years learning exactly how to destroy me. The game had begun, and I was playing for everything. 3 days later, Raymond called. I was in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store. I had told Patricia I was running errands. Really, I was waiting for Raymond's call. I answered on the first ring. "Talk to me," I said. Raymond's voice was grim. "It is worse than you thought, Marcus. Your wife has been meeting with an elder law attorney named Mitchell Granger. He specializes in guardianship cases." I pulled his client list. 80% of his cases involve families seeking conservatorship over elderly relatives. Conservatorship. The word made my stomach clench. That was the legal term for what happened when a court decided you could not manage your own affairs. They appointed someone else to control your life. In this case, Patricia. "What else?" I asked. "She has been documenting everything," Raymond continued. I got access to her phone records. She's been calling your employees asking questions about your behavior at work. Has he seemed forgetful? Has he made any unusual decisions? She has talked to your neighbors, your golf buddies. She is building a witness list. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. How long has this been going on? At least 6 months, Raymond said. Maybe longer. She has been methodical. She is not rushing. She is creating a paper trail that shows a pattern of decline over time. That makes it harder to fight. What about the papers I signed? I asked. The insurance documents. Raymond paused. Marcus, those were not insurance papers. I got a copy from the file at Granger's office. You signed a durable power of attorney and an advance healthcare directive. You gave Patricia complete control over your medical decision and your finances if you are ever declared incapacitated. I closed my eyes. I had signed my own death warrant, not a physical death, but something worse. A legal death, the erasure of my autonomy. And I had done it willingly, rushed and trusting because my wife had timed it perfectly. There is more, Raymond said. I traced her financials. She has been moving money, small amounts, 50,000 here, 30,000 there, transferring it from joint accounts into accounts in her name only. She has moved about $400,000 in the last year, $400,000. That was not a fortune to someone with my net worth, but it was enough to live comfortably for years. It was escape money, liberation money, the price of a new life without me. She has also been in contact with a real estate agent, Raymond continued. She asked for valuations on your house, your vacation property in Vermont, the condo in Florida. She is pricing your assets, Marcus, getting ready to liquidate. I sat in silence, absorbing the information. My wife of 40 years had been systematically preparing to rob me blind, and she was doing it legally. That was the genius of her plan. She was not stealing. She was going to have a court give her permission to take everything. Can I fight this? I asked. If she files for conservatorship, can I win? Maybe, Raymond said, but it will be hard. She has been building evidence for months. You will need your own evidence to counter hers. You will need witnesses to testify that you are sharp and capable. You will need medical experts. And Marcus, even if you win, the damage is done. Your reputation will be destroyed. Everyone will know your wife tried to have you declared incompetent. Your business relationships will suffer. Clients will question your judgment. He was right. Even winning this fight would cost me everything that mattered. My dignity, my reputation, the respect I had spent 35 years earning. So what do? I asked. Raymond was quiet for a moment. You need to strike first, he said, before she files anything. You need to protect your assets. Move them somewhere she cannot touch. Set up trusts, offshore accounts. And you need to file for divorce before she files for conservatorship. Because once that petition is in front of a judge, you are on defense. And defense is a losing position. Divorce. The word felt foreign in my mouth. I had never imagined ending my marriage. Even now, part of me wanted to believe this was all a misunderstanding, that Patricia had been misled by a greedy lawyer, that we could sit down and talk this through like adults. But I knew that was fantasy. She had been planning this for months. She had lied to my face every single day. She had turned me into a mark. Okay, I said. Tell me what I need to do. First, Raymond said, you need a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. You need someone who specializes in this kind of warfare. I have a name for you, Catherine Morrison. She has never lost a case like this. She is expensive, but she is worth it. I will set up a meeting. Second, you need to secure your assets today. Transfer control of your company to a trust. Make sure Patricia has no legal claim to it if something happens to you. Do the same with your real estate and investments. Cut her off from your money. Third, you need to document everything. Start keeping a journal. Record your daily activities. Prove you are competent. Get affidavits from colleagues, friends, doctors. Build your own witness list. And fourth, Raymond said, his voice hardening, you need to prepare for war. Because when she realizes what you are doing, she will come at you with everything she has. She will claim you are paranoid. She will say you are having a mental breakdown. She will use your actions as evidence that you need protection from yourself. You need to be ready. I took a deep breath. How soon can you set up the meeting with Catherine Morrison? Tomorrow morning, Raymond said. 9 o'clock. Her office is downtown. I will text you the address on this number. And Marcus, Use this burner phone for everything related to this situation. Assume your regular phone is compromised. Assume Patricia is monitoring everything. I hung up and sat in the grocery store parking lot watching normal people push their shopping carts to their cars. They looked happy, oblivious. They had no idea that someone could be sitting in a parked car having their entire life dismantled piece by piece. I started the engine and drove home. When I walked in the door, Patricia was in the kitchen making tea. She looked up and smiled. "Did you get everything you needed?" she asked sweetly. I held up the bag of groceries I had bought as cover. "All set," I said. "I even remembered to get that bread you like." She walked over and kissed me on the cheek. "You are such a good husband," she said, "always taking care of me." I smiled back. It felt like my face was made of plastic. "Always," I said. "That is what marriage is about." That night I lay in bed next to her, listening to her breathe. She fell asleep quickly like she always did. No guilt keeping her awake, no conscience troubling her dreams. She slept the sleep of someone who believed she was winning. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, making plans. I thought about our wedding day. I was 28 years old. She was 26. We had met in college, fell in love fast and hard. She had believed in me when no one else did. When I told her I wanted to start my own company, she had encouraged me. When I worked 16-hour days, she had brought me dinner at the office. When we struggled to pay rent, she had never complained, or so I thought. Maybe even then she had been calculating, investing in me like I was stock, waiting for the day when I would be worth cashing out. I got out of bed quietly and went downstairs to my office. I pulled out the burner phone and spent the next 3 hours researching conservatorship law in our state. I read case files. I studied precedents. I learned the language of legal incapacity. Phrases like lacks sufficient understanding and unable to manage financial affairs. I learned how easy it was to have someone declared incompetent, how little evidence was actually required. A few witnesses saying you seemed confused, a doctor's report questioning your judgment, a lawyer arguing you needed protection for your own good. That was all it took to strip away someone's rights. I found one case that made me sick. An 80-year-old man, a retired executive, had been declared incompetent by his children. They claimed he was wasting his money on a young girlfriend. The court appointed them as conservators. They put him in a nursing home. They sold his house. They took control of his $3 million estate. He tried to fight it, but every time he protested, they used it as evidence that he was paranoid and delusional. He died 2 years later, having never regained his freedom. His children inherited everything. That was going to be me. Not a nursing home maybe, but something worse. Patricia would keep me at home, keep me visible, keep me alive as long as possible while she spent every dollar I had ever earned. She would parade me at social events, propped up like a puppet, proof that she was a devoted wife caring for her poor, confused husband. And I would be powerless to stop her because legally I would no longer exist unless I stopped her first. The next morning I told Patricia I had an early meeting with a potential client. She barely looked up from her coffee. "Have a good day," she said absently. She was texting someone, probably her lawyer, probably her sister, probably planning the next phase of my destruction. I drove downtown to Catherine Morrison's office. It was in one of the new glass towers, the kind that reflected the sky and made you feel small. I took the elevator to the 35th floor. The receptionist was expecting me. "Mr. Chen," she said, "Miss Morrison is ready for you. Please follow me." Catherine Morrison's office had floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. She stood when I entered, extending her hand. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with sharp eyes and an even sharper suit. "Mr. Chen," she said, "Raymond Liu told me a little about your situation. Please, sit down and tell me everything." I sat, and then I told her everything: the insurance papers, the doctor's inquiry, the witness building, the money transfers, the real estate valuations. I showed her the copies of documents I had gathered. I showed her Raymond's investigative report. I showed her the evidence of my own competence. Financial statements from my company showing steady growth. Recent contracts I had negotiated. Performance reviews from my board of directors praising my leadership. Catherine listened without interrupting. She took notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she sat back in her chair and steepled her fingers. "Mr. Chen," she said, Your wife has been preparing a very strong case, but she has made mistakes. First, she moved too slowly. That gave you time to discover her plan. Second, she has been too greedy. $400,000 in transfers will look bad to a judge. It shows financial self-dealing. And third, she underestimated you. She leaned forward. Here is what we are going to do. Today, right now, you are going to sign documents transferring all your major assets into an irrevocable trust. That trust will be managed by an independent trustee. Not you, not your wife, a professional fiduciary. This protects your assets from any conservatorship claim. Even if a judge declares you incapacitated, Patricia cannot touch the trust. Second, we are filing for divorce today before she can file her conservatorship petition. Once we file first, her motives become clear. She is not a concerned wife trying to protect a confused husband. She is an angry spouse trying to take as much money as possible in a divorce. That changes the entire narrative. Third, we are getting affidavits from everyone who matters. Your employees, your doctor, your business associates, all testifying that you are sharp, capable, and in full control of your faculties. We are building a wall of evidence that makes her claims look absurd. But Catherine continued, her voice hardening. You need to understand what you are about to do. You are declaring war on your wife of 40 years. This will get ugly. She will fight back. She will make accusations. She will try to paint you as a paranoid old man turning on his devoted wife. Your friends will have to choose sides. Your reputation will be tested. Are you ready for that? I thought about the last 6 months. The lies, the manipulation, the cold calculation in every smile and kiss. I thought about the $400,000 she had already stolen. I thought about the future she had planned for me. Helpless, controlled, erased. I am ready, I said. Let us do it. We spent the next 4 hours signing papers. The trust documents were 80 pages long. Every asset I owned was listed. My company's stock, my real estate, my investment accounts. All of it transferred into the Marcus Chen Irrevocable Trust, managed by a professional fiduciary named David Park. He was a CPA and attorney who specialized in managing assets for high net worth individuals. He had no connection to Patricia. She had never even heard his name. Then we moved to the divorce petition. Catherine had already prepared it based on what Raymond had told her. The grounds were irreconcilable differences. I was asking for full custody of all marital assets based on Patricia's financial misconduct. The evidence of her money transfers was attached as exhibits, so were screenshots of her calls to my doctor and employees. This will be served to her by a process server tomorrow morning, Catherine said. Once she is served, the clock starts. She will have 30 days to respond. During that time, we will move forward with discovery. We will depose her lawyer. We will depose her sister. We will get every email, every text message, every phone record. We will expose exactly what she has been planning. And if she files for conservatorship, Catherine added, we will oppose it aggressively. We will argue that her petition is retaliatory, that she is only claiming you are incompetent because you filed for divorce. No judge will grant conservatorship under those circumstances. She has lost her best weapon. I signed the final document. My hand was steady. I felt no hesitation. This was a business decision, a strategic move to protect my interests. I had made harder decisions than this. I had laid off employees. I had shut down failing divisions. I had walked away from bad deals. This was just another negotiation, just another problem to solve. That is what I told myself. But deep down, underneath the logic and strategy, I felt something else. Not sadness exactly, not regret, something colder. It was the feeling of cutting off a limb to save your life. Necessary but brutal. I left Catherine's office at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The city looked the same as when I had entered. The sun was still shining. People were still walking on sidewalks, living their normal lives. But I was different. I had just ended my 40-year marriage. I had just declared war on the woman who had shared my bed for 4 decades. And I had done it before she even knew the battle had begun. I drove back to the office and parked in my usual spot. I sat there for a minute, gathering myself. Then I walked inside and went straight to Linda's desk. She looked up and smiled. "Mr. Chen," she said, "I got that information you requested, the visitor logs. Do you want me to send it to your email?" "No," I said. print it out. Bring it to my office. And Linda, I need you to start documenting everything that happens over the next few weeks. Every call from Patricia, every visitor asking about me, every strange request. Write it all down with dates and times. Treat it like evidence because that is what it will become. Linda's smile faded. She looked worried. Mr. Chen, what is going on? Are you okay? I am more than okay, I said. I am finally seeing clearly. Just do what I ask, trust me. She nodded slowly. I will. I went into my office and closed the door. I pulled out my regular phone and saw 3 missed calls from Patricia. She had left a voicemail. Marcus, her voice said, honey, can you pick up milk on the way home and maybe some wine? I am thinking we should celebrate tonight, just the two of us. A quiet evening. I love you. I deleted the voicemail. Then I blocked her number on this phone. From now on, all communication with Patricia would go through Catherine Morrison. No more direct contact. No more casual conversations where she could twist my words. No more opportunities for her to manipulate me. The walls were up. That night, I did not go home. I checked into a hotel downtown using a credit card she did not know about. I ordered room service. I sat by the window looking out at the city lights and thought about what came next. Tomorrow morning, a process server would knock on the door of our house. He would hand Patricia an envelope. She would open it and see the divorce petition. She would see her money transfers listed as evidence. She would see my signature at the bottom of the document, cold and official. And she would realize that I knew, that I had always known, that I had been 10 steps ahead of her the entire time. I wondered what her face would look like in that moment. Would she cry? Would she rage? Would she call her lawyer in a panic? Would she call me begging for a chance to explain? It did not matter. I would not answer. I would not engage. I would let the lawyers handle everything from now on. I was done being a husband. Now I was just a client, a plaintiff in a divorce case, a man protecting his assets. That was all. I slept better that night than I had in months. The process server knocked on our door at 8:47 a.m. I know the exact time because I was sitting in my hotel room 3 miles away, watching the live feed from the security camera I had installed on our porch 2 days earlier. Patricia did not know about that camera. She did not know about a lot of things. Through the grainy video, I watched her open the door. She was wearing her silk robe, the expensive one I had bought her in Paris 5 years ago. Her hair was perfect even at this hour. She always woke up looking composed, ready to perform. The process server was a young woman, professional, holding a manila envelope. I could not hear the conversation, but I saw Patricia's face change as she took the papers. Confusion first. Then she opened the envelope right there on the porch. I watched her pull out the divorce petition. I watched her read the first page, then the second. Then she flipped to the exhibits showing her money transfers. Her face went white, not pale, white, like all the blood had drained from her body in an instant. She grabbed the door frame to steady herself. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The process server said something, probably the legally required statement that she had been served. Patricia did not respond. She just stood there, frozen, holding the papers like they were a death certificate. In a way, they were. The death of her plan, the death of her future. The process server left. Patricia stood on the porch for a full minute, not moving. Then she went inside and slammed the door so hard the camera shook. I leaned back in my hotel chair and exhaled. It was done. The first strike had landed. Now came the counterattack. If you have ever had to fight someone who thought you were too weak to fight back, hit the like button right now. And tell me in the comments, should I have given her a chance to explain, or did she deserve exactly what she got? My phone rang 47 seconds later. It was not Patricia. She could not call me because I had blocked her number. It was her sister, Diane. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. 5 calls in 3 minutes. Then my office phone started ringing. Then Linda's extension. Patricia was in full panic mode, trying to reach me any way she could. Catherine Morrison called me at 9:15. Her voice was calm, almost amused. Your wife just called my office screaming, Catherine said. She is demanding to speak with you. She says there has been a terrible misunderstanding. She says you are confused and someone has taken advantage of you. I almost laughed. Of course that was her play. Turn it around. Make me the victim of manipulation. Make herself the hero trying to save me from predatory lawyers. It was exactly what I would have expected. What did you tell her? I asked. I told her that you are my client, that you are fully competent, and that all communication must go through me. I also informed her that if she continues to harass you or your office, we will file for a restraining order. How did she react to that? She hung up on me, Catherine said. But she will call back, probably with her own lawyer. Mitchell Granger will tell her to stay calm, to not make things worse. But she will not listen. She is scared, Marcus. Scared people make mistakes. We just have to wait for her to make hers. Catherine was right. By noon, Patricia had called my office 17 times. She had called my cell phone, which was blocked, 32 times. She had sent emails to my work address, each one more desperate than the last. Marcus, please call me. We need to talk. This is insane. I do not understand what is happening. Why are you doing this? We can work this out. Marcus, I love you. Whatever you think I have done, you are wrong. Please just talk to me. You are making a terrible mistake. You are not thinking clearly. Let me help you. I read each email with the cold, analytical eye of a CEO reviewing a failed business proposal. Every word was calculated. Every plea was strategy. She was not apologizing. She was not confessing. She was positioning, trying to establish the narrative that I was the one acting irrationally, that I was the one who needed help. I forwarded every email to Catherine without responding. Documentation, evidence, ammunition. At 2:00 p.m., Linda knocked on my office door. She looked shaken. Mr. Chen, she said quietly, your wife is in the lobby. She is demanding to see you. Security called me. They want to know what to do. I stood up and walked to my window. From the third floor, I could see the parking lot. Patricia's white Mercedes was parked illegally in a fire lane. She had driven here in such a panic she had not even bothered to find a proper space. I could picture her in the lobby playing the role of the concerned wife, probably crying, probably telling security that her husband was sick and needed her help. Tell security to escort her out, I said. Politely but firmly. Tell them she is not authorized to be on company property. If she refuses to leave, they should call the police. Linda hesitated. Mr. Chen, are you sure? She seems really upset. I turned to face her. Linda, I need you to trust me. I know this looks bad. I know it seems cruel, but there are things happening that you do not understand. Patricia is not the woman you think she is. She has been lying to me for a long time. This divorce is not impulsive. It is necessary. Linda nodded slowly. Okay, I will tell them. She left. I watched from the window as 2 security guards approached Patricia in the lobby. I could not see her face, but I saw her body language, the dramatic gestures, the hand over her heart, the performance of the devastated wife. The guards were professional. They did not touch her. They just stood there blocking her path until she finally turned and walked out. She stood by her car for a long moment, looking up at the building. I wondered if she could see me in the window. I wondered if she knew I was watching her fall apart. She got in her car and drove away, fast, reckless. The car fishtailed as she left the parking lot. I hope she did not crash. Not out of concern for her safety, but because a car accident would complicate things legally. That night I returned to the hotel. I ordered dinner from room service, steak and red wine. I ate slowly, savoring each bite. I had not realized how much stress I had been carrying until it was gone. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. The secret was out. The war had begun, and I was no longer pretending. My burner phone buzzed, a text from Raymond. Target secured, package ready for delivery. I smiled. Raymond had been busy. While Patricia was having her breakdown, he had been executing the second phase of the plan, the phase that would break her completely. Subscribe to this channel right now if you want to see how this ends, because what happens next is going to shock you. I promise you have never seen a revenge story like this. The next morning I woke up at 5:00 a.m. Old habits. Even in a hotel, even in the middle of a war, my body still followed the rhythms I had established over 40 years in business. Early to rise, first in the office, always prepared. I showered, dressed in a fresh suit, and drove to Chen Industries. The building was quiet at this hour, just the night shift security guard and the cleaning crew. I liked it this way, the calm before the storm of a workday, the silence where you could think clearly. I went to my office and pulled out a file Raymond had delivered the night before. It was thick, Over 200 pages. It was the complete financial history of Patricia's betrayal. Bank statements showing every transfer, phone records showing every call to her lawyer, emails between Patricia and her sister Diane discussing their plans, and photographs. Raymond had followed Patricia for the last week. There were pictures of her meeting with Mitchell Granger at expensive restaurants, pictures of her looking at real estate listings for condos in Miami, pictures of her smiling and laughing with Diane, celebrating what they thought was their inevitable victory. But the most damning evidence was at the bottom of the file. It was a recording. Raymond had managed to plant a listening device in Patricia's car. It was not legal to use in court, but I did not need it for court. I needed it for myself. I needed to hear the truth in her own words. I plugged in my headphones and pressed play. Patricia's voice came through, clear and cold. She was talking to Diane. The conversation was from 3 days ago, right after Patricia had submitted the documents to Mitchell Granger. "I cannot believe how easy this was," Patricia was saying. "He signed everything without even reading it. 40 years and he still trusts me completely. It would almost be sad if it was not so pathetic." Diane laughed. "You deserve this, Patty. You have put up with him for decades. His obsession with that stupid company, his boring business talk, his lack of social skills. You sacrificed your life to play the supportive wife. Now it is your turn to live." "Exactly," Patricia said. "Once the conservatorship goes through, I will have access to everything. The house, the company stock, the retirement accounts. Mitchell says I can liquidate most of it within 6 months. By this time next year, I will be living in Miami Beach with more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes." "What about Marcus?" Diane asked. "What happens to him?" Patricia paused. When she spoke again, her voice was flat, emotionless. "I do not care what happens to him. He can rot in some state facility for all I care. Once he is declared incompetent, he becomes a ward of the state, not my problem anymore. I will have done my duty. I will have tried to care for him. If the system fails him, that is not on me." "You are cold," Diane said, but she was laughing. "I love it." "I am practical," Patricia corrected. "Marcus spent 40 years building his empire. He should have spent more time building a relationship with his wife. Now he gets to learn what happens when you treat someone like an accessory." I stopped the recording. I sat there in the quiet office staring at the file in front of me. 40 years. I had given this woman 40 years of my life. I had worked myself to exhaustion to give her everything she wanted. I had never cheated, never lied, never broken a promise. And this was how she saw me: pathetic, boring, an obstacle to overcome. The sad thing was, she was not entirely wrong. I had been obsessed with the company. I had worked long hours. I had missed dinners and anniversaries and vacations because there was always one more deal to close, one more crisis to manage. I had thought I was being a good husband by providing, by making sure she never had to worry about money, by giving her the lifestyle she wanted. But I had forgotten to give her attention. I had forgotten to give her time. I had forgotten that money is not love. But that did not excuse what she was doing. Loneliness does not justify theft. Boredom does not justify betrayal. She could have asked for a divorce 20 years ago if she was unhappy. She could have told me she felt neglected. She could have given me a chance to change. Instead, she had stayed silent, planning, waiting for the moment when she could destroy me most completely. I forwarded the audio file to Catherine. She would know what to do with it. Then I put my head down on my desk, and for the first time in decades, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of what I had lost. Not the money, not the company. The years. 40 years I had given to a woman who saw me as nothing more than a bank account with a pulse. I gave myself exactly 5 minutes to grieve. Then I lifted my head, wiped my eyes, and got back to work. Grief was a luxury I could not afford right now. There would be time for that later, after the war was won. Catherine called me at 10:00 a.m. Her voice had a new edge to it, excitement mixed with anger. "Marcus," she said, "I just received a filing from Mitchell Granger. Your wife has officially petitioned for emergency conservatorship. She is claiming you are in immediate danger, that you are making irrational financial decisions, that you need protection from predatory influences." "Predatory influences meaning you," I said. "Exactly. She is painting me as the villain who manipulated a confused old man into filing for divorce. She has affidavits from 3 of her friends claiming they witnessed concerning behavior from you over the last year. Memory lapses, confusion, paranoia. All lies, I said. Of course they are lies, but here is the interesting part. She filed this as an emergency petition. That means she wants an immediate hearing. She wants a judge to grant temporary conservatorship within days, not weeks. She is rushing because she knows time is not on her side. Can she get it? I asked. Can a judge actually grant this? In theory, yes. If the judge believes you are in immediate danger of being exploited, they can grant temporary conservatorship pending a full hearing. But Marcus, she has made a critical mistake. By filing this so quickly after being served with divorce papers, she has exposed her motive. Any judge with half a brain will see this for what it is: retaliation. She is not trying to protect you. She is trying to protect her access to your money. So what is our next move? We go on offense, Catherine said. We file a motion to dismiss her petition as frivolous. We submit your medical records showing you are in perfect health. We submit affidavits from your employees, your board members, your business partners. We show the judge that you are not some confused old man. You are Marcus Chen, CEO of a multimillion-dollar company who just discovered his wife of 40 years has been stealing from him. When is the hearing? Friday, 3 days from now. Judge Amanda Reeves. She is tough but fair. She does not tolerate bullshit in her courtroom. If we present our case well, Patricia's petition will be dead before lunch. Then let us make sure we present it well, I said. I hung up and immediately called Linda. Clear my schedule for the next 3 days, I told her. Cancel everything, meetings, calls, everything. Tell anyone who asks that I am dealing with a personal emergency. What kind of emergency? Linda asked carefully. The kind where my wife is trying to steal my company, I said, and I am going to make sure she fails. There was a pause. Mr. Chen, Linda said quietly, whatever you need, I am with you. That meant more than she knew. Over the next 72 hours, I became a machine. I worked with Catherine to build an unshakable case. We gathered documents. Financial statements showing Chen Industries had grown 20% in the last year under my leadership. Emails I had sent to clients demonstrating clear, strategic thinking. Board meeting minutes where I had made complex decisions that resulted in profitable outcomes. We compiled everything into a binder 3 inches thick, evidence of competence. We also gathered witnesses. My CFO, Richard Torres, agreed to testify. He would tell the judge that I was sharper now than I had been 10 years ago. My personal physician, Dr. Rebecca Park, prepared a detailed affidavit explaining that I had no cognitive decline whatsoever. My golf partner of 15 years, Tom Brennan, wrote a statement saying I had beaten him in our last 5 games and that my strategic thinking was better than ever. And then there was the smoking gun. Raymond had delivered one more piece of evidence. Financial records showing that Patricia had opened a bank account in Miami under a false name. She had transferred $60,000 into it 2 weeks ago, money she had stolen from our joint account, money she was planning to use to start her new life once she had liquidated my assets. Catherine was ecstatic when I showed her. This is gold, Marcus. This proves she was planning to disappear. No concerned wife preparing to care for an incompetent husband opens secret bank accounts in another state. This shows premeditation. This shows fraud. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. I put on my best suit, navy blue custom tailored with a red tie, power colors. I wanted to look every inch the successful businessman when I walked into that courtroom. I wanted the judge to see immediately that I was not a confused old man. I was a titan. Catherine met me outside the courthouse at 8:30 a.m. She was wearing a black suit that made her look like an assassin, professional but deadly. She carried 2 briefcases filled with our evidence. Ready? She asked. I have been ready for this my entire life, I said. We walked into the courthouse together. The hearing was in courtroom 4B on the 3rd floor. As we approached, I saw Patricia sitting on a bench outside the courtroom with Mitchell Granger. She looked small, fragile. She was wearing a simple dress, minimal makeup, the costume of the devoted wife. When she saw me, she stood up. Her eyes were red like she had been crying. Marcus, she said, her voice breaking, please, can we just talk for a minute, just you and me, before this gets out of control? I looked at her, really looked at her. I searched her face for any sign of the woman I had married 40 years ago, the college girl who had believed in me, the young wife who had kissed me goodbye every morning, the partner who had built a life with me. I found nothing, just an actress playing a role, just a con artist caught in the act. No, I said simply. We have nothing to talk about. Mitchell Granger stepped forward. He was a thin man with silver hair and cold eyes. Mr. Chen, he said smoothly, I understand you are upset, but you need to understand that your wife is genuinely concerned about you. She loves you. She's trying to help you. These lawyers you have hired, they are taking advantage of your confusion. They are poisoning you against your own wife. Please, do not let them destroy your marriage. I turned to him. You know what is interesting, Mr. Granger? In all the months you were meeting with my wife, planning this conservatorship, did you ever think to meet with me? Did you ever think to evaluate my mental state yourself? Or did you just take her word for it that I needed protecting? Granger's smile faltered. I relied on the statements provided by your wife and her witnesses. Statements from her friends, people who have never spent 5 minutes alone with me. People who would say whatever she told them to say. You built your entire case on hearsay and lies, and now you are going to lose. The courtroom doors opened. A bailiff stepped out. The matter of Patricia Chen versus Marcus Chen, Judge Reeves is ready. We filed into the courtroom. It was smaller than I expected. Just a dozen rows of benches and the judge's elevated platform. Judge Amanda Reeves was already seated. She was in her 50s, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked at all of us as we took our seats. Patricia and Mitchell Granger on one side, Catherine and I on the other. Let us get started, Judge Reeves said. Her voice was brisk, no nonsense. I have reviewed the emergency petition filed by Mrs. Chen. She is requesting temporary conservatorship over her husband, Marcus Chen, on the grounds that he is mentally incompetent and in danger of financial exploitation. Mr. Granger, you may present your case. Mitchell Granger stood. He was smooth, practiced. Your Honor, this is a tragic situation. Marcus Chen is a man who has spent his entire life building a successful business. He is a pillar of the community, but in recent months he has begun to show signs of cognitive decline, memory lapses, poor judgment, paranoia. His wife, Patricia, has tried to help him. She has encouraged him to see doctors. She has tried to protect him. But instead of accepting her help, he has turned against her. He has filed for divorce. He has accused her of theft. He has cut her off from their joint finances. These are not the actions of a rational man, Your Honor. These are the actions of someone who has been manipulated by opportunistic lawyers who see a wealthy, vulnerable senior citizen and a chance to profit. He presented his evidence, affidavits from Patricia's friends, medical power of attorney documents I had signed, statements claiming I had seemed confused at social gatherings. It was all flimsy, circumstantial, but it was presented with such confidence that for a moment I wondered if the judge might actually believe it. Then it was Catherine's turn. She stood slowly, deliberately. She did not rush. She wanted the weight of the moment to settle. Your Honor, she began. I have been practicing law for 23 years. I have seen many conservatorship cases. Some are legitimate. Families genuinely trying to protect elderly relatives who can no longer care for themselves. But this is not one of those cases. This is fraud. This is a woman who got caught stealing from her husband and is now trying to use the legal system to cover her tracks. She opened her first briefcase. Let us start with Mr. Chen's supposed incompetence. Here are his medical records from Dr. Rebecca Park, his physician of 15 years. I will read directly from her affidavit. Marcus Chen is in excellent health for a man of 68 years. His cognitive function is normal. He shows no signs of dementia, Alzheimer's disease, or any other condition that would impair his judgment. He is fully capable of managing his own affairs. She placed the affidavit on the judge's bench. Here are financial statements from Chen Industries showing 20% growth in the last year. Here are board meeting minutes where Mr. Chen made strategic decisions that resulted in millions of dollars in profit. Here are emails he sent to clients demonstrating complex problem-solving and negotiation skills. Does this look like a man who is mentally incompetent, Your Honor? Judge Reeves was reading the documents carefully. Her expression was unreadable. Catherine continued. Now let us talk about Mrs. Chen's true motives. Your Honor, I would like to present evidence that Mrs. Chen has been systematically stealing from her husband for over a year. She pulled out bank statements. These documents show transfers totaling $400,000 from joint accounts into accounts in Mrs. Chen's name only. Small amounts, designed to go unnoticed, but they add up. Patricia shifted in her seat. Her face was pale. Furthermore, Catherine said, pulling out more documents, Mrs. Chen opened a bank account in Miami, Florida under a false name 2 weeks ago. She transferred $60,000 into it. This is not the behavior of a concerned wife, Your Honor. This is the behavior of someone planning to run. Mitchell Granger shot to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. This is character assassination. Mrs. Chen's finances are not relevant to the question of her husband's competence. Judge Reeves looked at him. They are relevant to her motive. Counselor, I will allow it. Continue, Miss Morrison. Catherine smiled. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen filed this emergency petition exactly 1 day after being served with divorce papers. 1 day, that is not a coincidence. She filed for conservatorship because she realized her plan had failed. She realized her husband knew what she had been doing, and she panicked. This petition is not about protecting Marcus Chen. It is about punishing him for daring to leave her. She placed one final document on the judge's bench. This is a recording of a conversation between Mrs. Chen and her sister, Diane Mitchell. In it, Mrs. Chen explicitly states her plan to have her husband declared incompetent, liquidate his assets, and move to Miami. She states, and I quote, "He can rot in some state facility for all I care." Does that sound like a loving wife concerned about her husband's well-being, Your Honor? The courtroom was silent. Patricia was staring at the floor. Mitchell Granger looked like he wanted to disappear. Judge Reeves leaned back in her chair. She looked at Patricia. Mrs. Chen, she said, is what Miss Morrison is saying true? Did you make those statements? Patricia did not answer. She just sat there, frozen. I will take that as a yes, Judge Reeves said. She looked at Mitchell Granger. Mr. Granger, I am dismissing this petition. Not only is it without merit, it is a blatant abuse of the legal system. Your client has wasted this court's time with a frivolous filing motivated entirely by financial self-interest. I am awarding costs to Mr. Chen. You and your client will pay his legal fees. She turned to me. Mr. Chen, you are clearly competent. You are clearly not in need of protection. Go live your life and get a better wife. The gavel came down. Bang. It was over. If you think Patricia got exactly what she deserved, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments what you think should happen to her next, because the story is not over yet. I walked out of the courtroom without looking at Patricia. Catherine was smiling. It was the smile of a general who had just won a decisive battle. That, she said, was beautiful. Thank you, I said, for everything. We are not done yet, Marcus. The divorce still has to proceed. She's going to fight for every penny. But after what just happened in there, no judge will be sympathetic to her. We are in a very strong position. I shook her hand. Then I left the courthouse and drove back to my office. I went straight to my desk, sat down, and pulled out my phone. I had 17 missed calls, 6 from employees, 4 from board members, 3 from clients. Everyone had heard about the court hearing. News travels fast in business circles. I ignored all of them. There was only one call I needed to make. I dialed Raymond Liu. He answered immediately. I saw the judge's ruling, he said. Congratulations. Thank you. I need one more thing from you. Name it. I want you to keep following Patricia. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to, what she does. She is going to regroup. She is going to come up with a new plan. I want to know what it is before she executes it. You think she's going to try something else? I know she is, I said. She has come too far to give up now. She thought she had this locked up. Now she has nothing, no conservatorship, no divorce settlement, no money. She is desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. I will stay on her, Raymond said, 24/7. I hung up and stared out the window at the city below. Chen Industries was on the 3rd floor of a building I owned. I could see the parking lot where my employees came to work every day. I could see the delivery trucks bringing materials for our manufacturing line. I could see the concrete evidence of 40 years of hard work. Patricia had tried to take all of this away from me. She had tried to turn me into a puppet while she pulled the strings and spent my money. She had failed. But she had proven something important. She had proven that even the people closest to you, the people you trust most, can become your worst enemies if the price is right. I would never make that mistake again. That night I stayed in the office late. I ordered Chinese food and ate it at my desk while reviewing contracts, normal work, the kind of mundane business operations that had consumed my life for decades. It felt good. It felt like control. Around 9:00 p.m., Linda knocked on my door. "Mr. Chen, I am heading home. You need anything before I go?" "No, thank you, Linda. Have a good night." She hesitated. "Mr. Chen, can I say something?" "Of course." "I am sorry about what your wife did. I have worked here 12 years and I always thought you two had the perfect marriage. I guess you never really know people." "No," I agreed. "You do not. For what it is worth, I think you are handling this incredibly well. Most people would fall apart, but you are still here, still working, still leading. That takes real strength." I smiled. "Thank you, Linda, that means a lot." She left. I sat alone in the quiet office and allowed myself to feel the truth of what she had said. I was still here, still standing. Patricia had tried to bury me and I had not just survived. I had won. But winning did not feel like I thought it would. It did not feel triumphant. It felt hollow, like winning a game where the only prize is discovering you were playing alone the whole time. My phone buzzed. A text from Raymond. "Target on the move. Following." I grabbed my coat and headed out. Whatever Patricia was planning, I wanted to see it for myself. I met Raymond in a parking lot 6 blocks from my house. The house I had paid for. The house I would soon be selling as part of the divorce settlement. Raymond was sitting in an unmarked sedan with tinted windows. I got in the passenger seat. He handed me a pair of binoculars. "She left the house an hour ago," Raymond said. "She drove to a bar in the warehouse district. She is inside now, meeting someone. Who? I do not know yet. Male, 40s, expensive suit. They are sitting in a back booth." I looked through the binoculars. The bar was called the Iron Horse. It was one of those trendy places trying to look industrial. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, craft cocktails that cost $20. Through the window, I could see Patricia sitting across from a man I did not recognize. They were talking intensely. She was leaning forward, gesturing with her hands. He was listening, nodding. "Can you get closer?" I asked Raymond. "Can you hear what they are saying?" "I have a directional microphone in the trunk. Give me 5 minutes." He got out and assembled his equipment. A parabolic dish aimed at the window, headphones connected to a recorder. He put on the headphones, adjusted the aim, and then handed them to me. "Try now." I put on the headphones, static at first, then voices emerging from the background noise, Patricia's voice, clear and desperate. "I need your help, Victor. I am out of option. The conservatorship failed. The judge saw through everything. Marcus has locked me out of all the accounts. I have maybe $20,000 left, that is it." The man's voice, smooth, confident. "You told me this was going to be easy. You told me he was confused and would not fight back." "He should not have fought back," Patricia snapped. "He should have been too senile to realize what was happening. Someone tipped him off. Someone helped him. So what do you want from me?" "I want you to help me get what I am owed. I spent 40 years married to that man. I deserve half of everything he has. But he is going to drag this divorce out. He is going to fight me on every asset. I need leverage. I need something that will force him to settle quickly and generously." There was a long pause. Then Victor spoke again. "What kind of leverage?" "I do not care," Patricia said. "Whatever it takes, I just need something that will scare him. Something that will make him realize it is easier to pay me off than to keep fighting." Victor laughed. It was a cold sound. "You want me to threaten him. I want you to make him understand that I am serious, that I am not going away, that I will make his life hell if he does not give me what I deserve. That is going to cost you. I will pay you 20% of whatever I get in the settlement. If I get 5 million, you get 1 million. If I get 10 million, you get 2 million. Make it 30% and we have a deal." Patricia hesitated. Then she nodded. "Fine, 30%. Just make it happen." I took off the headphones. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. She had just hired someone to threaten me, to intimidate me into paying her millions of dollars I did not owe her. She was not done trying to destroy me. She was escalating. "Who is Victor?" I asked Raymond. "I will find out. Give me an hour." I sat in the car watching Patricia and Victor shake hands, sealing their deal, agreeing to my destruction. Then they left the bar separately. Patricia got in her car and drove home. Victor walked to a black BMW and drove in the opposite direction. "Follow him," I told Raymond. We followed Victor through the city. He drove to an apartment building in a wealthy neighborhood, new construction, glass and steel, the kind of place that cost $5,000 a month for a studio. Victor parked in the garage and took the elevator up. Raymond checked the building directory. Victor Salazar, apartment 12C. "I know that name," Raymond said, pulling out his phone. He did some quick searches. "Here it is, Victor Salazar. He is a fixer, a guy you hire when you need problems solved outside the law. He has connections to organized crime. He has been arrested twice for extortion but never convicted. Marcus, this is serious. Your wife just hired a criminal." I sat back in my seat. So this was it. Patricia's end game. If she could not have me declared incompetent, and if she could not win in divorce court, she would hire thugs to threaten me until I gave her what she wanted. She was willing to destroy me. She was willing to put me in danger, all for money. All because she felt entitled to half of what I had spent a lifetime building. "What do you want to do?" Raymond asked. I thought about it. I could call the police. I could show them the recording. Victor Salazar would be arrested for conspiracy to commit extortion. Patricia might be charged as well. They would both go to jail. The problem would be solved. But going to the police meant making this public. It meant news stories. It meant my employees and clients finding out that my wife had tried to have me threatened by criminals. It meant damage to my reputation, to my company. Even if I was the victim, the stain would remain. No, I could not involve the police. Not yet. I needed to handle this my way. "I want you to pay Victor Salazar a visit," I said. "Tonight, tell him who I am. Tell him what I am capable of. Tell him that if he ever comes near me or my business, I will make it my personal mission to destroy him. I have resources he cannot imagine. I have lawyers, investigators, and connections in places he cannot touch. Tell him to walk away from Patricia's offer and never look back." Raymond nodded. "And if he does not listen, then we go to the police, but give him the chance to make the smart choice first."